loss on the Hudson River in Rockland County is caught on camera, and now the state is trying to determine
Those that were fishing for Pacific sorry using very bright red arrays of
What's forcing the world to face one disaster after another? Fires tearing through neighborhoods, storms snapping buildings apart, strange lights slicing across the sky, and odd shapes appearing right in front of people's eyes? 10 unusual events happening one right after another in a short time, not following any normal pattern, not giving anyone a chance to prepare, like some kind of chain of events has been set off. Spreading fires, fierce winds knocking things down, clouds forming strange shapes, lights breaking through the clouds, rivers and waters moving in weird ways, creatures falling from high above. Each one on its own is shocking enough. But when you put them all together, they form something unsettling, a pattern that makes people stop and look at the bigger picture behind it all. If this isn't just random, then what is it warning us about? And if you believe it's not random, leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a simple way to show your faith. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait any longer, let's get right to it. 1. Hellfire destroys thousands of homes in the Philippines. A seaside neighborhood turned into an ocean of flames in just minutes. Houses collapsed, tin roofs bent and twisted, wooden posts snapped, and the whole area was swallowed in bright red fire and thick smoke. The flames raced along every narrow path, forcing people to run out in total chaos. We have to look straight at this scene. It's a serious warning we can't ignore. Barangay Lamyon on Bongao Island in Tawi-Tawi Province is a crowded area with makeshift homes built close together on wooden and bamboo platforms, topped with thin tin sheets right next to the sea. The narrow inner roads, old rickety wooden bridges, and poor access always make rescue work tough, especially with strong sea winds constantly shifting direction. The fire broke out at night. The starting point spread fast through one cluster of homes after another, creating a long line of fire along the coast. Online news reports say at least 1,000 homes were completely burned down, and more than 4,000 people lost their homes in a single night. Thankfully, no one was reported injured or killed. Firefighters faced big problems. Damaged bridges, limited fresh water, and tight spaces made it take many hours to get the fire under control. Drone footage shows the whole area left with nothing but blackened house frames, broken belongings, ground covered in ash and debris. People were moved temporarily to gymnasiums, community centers, and emergency shelters, now facing a long time of shortages and hardship. Matthew 24:7 says, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." This Bible verse is brought up as a warning about more and more events happening beyond human control. Fire safety experts and local officials say the main reasons were homes built with materials that catch fire easily, houses packed very close together, and strong sea winds blowing right into the area. They warn the risk of this happening again is very high unless living conditions improve, and they're calling for urgent rebuilding and planning to prevent another disaster like this. Revelation 8-7 says, "Hail and fire mixed with blood were hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up." Fire isn't just a physical thing. In the Bible, it also carries a meaning of warning about judgment coming closer. Many people say this was just an accident caused by weak infrastructure and harsh natural conditions. And yes, there's no direct supernatural proof. But Genesis 19:24 still reminds us, "The Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens," a reminder that fire has been used before to wake people up from being too comfortable. The fire in Barangay Lamyon didn't just destroy homes, it raises questions about the chain of events happening around the world. If this is only the first sign, what might be waiting ahead when similar things start coming with greater force and over wider areas. 2. Storm tears metal apart like paper. The metal building frame got ripped apart, walls folded in, the steel roof flew far off the ground, leaving a bare, empty spot in the middle of a Texas field. After the storm, the scene in Plum Grove looked like something just got crushed by a giant force. Even the toughest materials couldn't hold their original shape. Liberty County, the rural area near Plum Grove, is used to having barns and metal buildings for farming. These structures spread out across flat land with hardly anything to block the wind. They face strong weather systems moving in straight from the Gulf of Mexico, so every big storm brings serious risk. The video that's going around shows the wind tearing the whole metal building down in just a few seconds. Steel panels got pulled off the frame, spun up into the air, then slammed back down dozens of feet away from where they started. The windows at a nearby church shattered. Trees in the area snapped, but a boat tied up near the shore luckily stayed okay. When we see these pictures, we have to admit there are moments when people are completely helpless against the power coming from the sky. Matthew 24:7 says, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. This Bible verse gets brought up as a warning about more and more destructive events coming fast and hard to control. After the video spread, people quickly split into different reactions. Some were scared by how much damage the storm did. Some worried about the safety of folks nearby. Some just hoped nobody got hurt or killed, and plenty doubted it, saying it's only a rare extreme weather event. Others looked at the recent string of disasters and felt natural catastrophes are getting more intense. Revelation 6:12-13 says, "I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like a sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to the earth like figs dropped from a fig tree when a strong wind shakes it." The Bible's picture of strong winds reminds us of power that can bring down even the things we think are most solid. Weather experts say this was likely strong straight-line winds or a storm warned for possible tornadoes, not necessarily a full tornado on the ground. No one getting hurt or killed probably came down to the area being sparsely populated and quick response, but they warned that similar storms in the future could cause much worse damage if they hit more crowded places. When metal gets torn, like thin material, the message isn't just about the physical damage. If the power from the sky has reached this level, what other limits that people still think are safe will the next storm break? 3. Mysterious cloud, shaped like Jesus on the cross. Sunset falls over Rodriguez Island Beach. The sea is calm as a mirror, and the sky opens up with an image that stops every conversation. A cross appears in the clouds, perfectly balanced, almost chilling, with the shadow of a human figure hanging right in the middle. What would you think standing there, in a place made just for relaxing and watching the late afternoon sun? Rodriguez Island in Mauritius usually draws people looking for peace, but in that moment, the peace shattered. A viral video captured the crowd, leaving the sand in a panic. No strong wind, no thunder, just the sky holding still with a clear cross shape. The cloud didn't break apart or change. It stayed exactly the same long enough for everyone to see it and witness it with their own eyes. The center image looked like a person with arms stretched out, head bowed down, the whole figure hanging inside the cloudy cross frame. No movement, no sound, but the group reaction exploded. Some people stopped to film it, others just stood frozen. The sight didn't hurt anything physically, but it hit deep into the most basic human feelings. Matthew 24:30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." Those words echo more like a hint than a final answer, placing what was just seen into a meaning bigger than the weather. Luke 21:25 reads, There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth. Nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. With the sea still calm but people's hearts in turmoil, that Bible verse only adds more weight to the questions hanging in the air. On social media, arguments broke out in all directions. Some say it's just pareidolia, seeing familiar shapes in clouds, like we always do. Others suspect the video was faked, pointing to similar cloud crosses that showed up in Florida or other places before. And some don't argue at all. They just say the panic itself is something worth thinking about. Amid all the different opinions, one thing is hard to deny. That image touched a shared memory of faith, where the cross isn't just a symbol, but a reminder of sacrifice and judgment. No technical explanation needed. The appearance alone was enough to make many people rethink where they stand under the sky. If it was a warning sent through an image, the fear didn't come from the clouds themselves, but from what the clouds brought to mind. And the question still hangs there, heavier than the cross shape. Why do people tremble when facing a symbol of redemption? 4. Person walking on air. Could it be the Lord? A video popped up on social media with a really shocking image. Against a thick layer of clouds, a blurry figure of a person appears, stepping upward, step by step, like climbing invisible stairs. The movements are clear and steady, the posture straight, and the whole scene makes people stop and stare, because so many questions come rushing in, all at once curious and a little shaken. The video was shot in a sky covered with heavy clouds, with slanted light creating an unusual sense of depth. In that short moment, the figure shows a clear head, body, and footsteps, giving the feeling that it's intentional, not just random. What would you think if you saw a shape moving upward through the clouds, like there was a path laid out just for it? The clip spread like wildfire. Lots of folks said their hearts skipped a beat when they saw this figure walking upward, like someone climbing stairs that only exist in the sky. The image keeps good proportions. The motion is smooth, and it lasts long enough for your eyes to take in every step. That very clearness stirs up a strong sense of something holy. Acts 1-9-11 says, "He was taken up, and a cloud hid him from their sight." Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? That Bible verse comes to mind like a hint, connecting this upward movement in the clouds to the memory of Jesus ascending. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. All the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." When people see this shadowy figure tied to the clouds, many right away think of that prophecy, even if they understand it in different ways. Reactions online are all over the place, but most people speak carefully. Some say it's just a trick of light and cloud shadows, a common optical illusion. Others point to pareidolia, the way our brain makes familiar shapes out of random things. Then there's a group that stays quiet and listens, saying the shared trembling feeling matters more than any technical explanation. Among all these views, that image of a person stepping upward still reminds us of one thing: the sky has always been the place for the biggest questions, where faith and reason meet. When a sign like this shows up at a time when the world feels so unsettled, that sense of something sacred wakes up more easily. If there really is a figure moving up through the clouds, where is that journey leading? And when will the moment of return actually come? 5. Mysterious beam piercing the clouds. Light from the unseen world is calling. A shocking scene appeared during the storm in Asheville, North Carolina. From behind the mountain range, a narrow, focused beam of light shot straight through the thick clouds. Pulsing steadily like a heartbeat, the light stayed perfectly on track, cutting through the dark gray sky, making a lot of people stop and wonder, are you watching a natural event or some kind of signal being sent? The spot where it was filmed is close to Linville Gorge, not far from Brown Mountain, a place famous for years because of strange, hard-to-explain lights. With high mountains, thick fog, and wild weather changes, it's the perfect setting for unusual sights. But this beam looked different from anything recorded before. In the video, the light appears as a tight column of energy, glowing in short, even pulses that repeat. It holds the same line the whole time, with sharp edges, no spreading branches, no bleeding out into the surrounding clouds or wind. Many people shared that an uneasy feeling came over them, seeing this light hold its exact shape right in the middle of a storm, almost like it was on purpose. Luke 21:25 records the prophecy, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth nations will be anxious and confused because of the roaring sea and waves." When this light shows up in the middle of nature's chaos, a lot of folks see it as a clue that helps make sense of things, placing the event in line with signs mentioned long ago. Revelation 1:16 describes, "In his right hand he held 7 stars. From his mouth came a sharp, two-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in full strength." The focused, powerful light carries a strong symbolic feel, so this Bible verse comes to mind for those who view the phenomenon through the eyes of faith. From a science angle, experts looking at the video offered several possibilities. Some think it could be crepuscular rays squeezed narrow by the terrain and thick clouds, giving the look of a single beam. Others brought up the Brown Mountain Lights, a still unexplained phenomenon recorded in the area for over a century. There are also ideas about military activity or some high-power light source far away. 2 ways of seeing it exist side by side. One side looks for physical explanations, the other reads a message beyond what measurements can show. The common point is that this beam doesn't fully match the usual patterns, enough to keep the discussion going for a long time. With more and more hard-to-explain lights showing up lately, the image from Asheville feels like a new piece in a bigger picture. If that light really carries a message, what's it answering? Or is it waiting for people to notice the next signal? 6. A mysterious light appeared right after the lightning, like the gates of heaven were opening up. The night sky got torn open by a bright streak, racing across at tremendous speed. Then, right in front of the witnesses, that streak split into 2 glowing rings, moving in opposite directions. The 2 rings kept pulsing, clashing against each other in opposing motions, leaving a series of sharp flashes before they vanished. The images came fast, one fact after another. It felt like a battle had just taken place up there. The event was caught from several angles. The path started straight. The split point was clear. The 2 glowing rings twisted off-axis and then pulled against each other with quick bursts of light. The colors shifted from white-blue to pale yellow, with sharp edges on the light, and it lasted long enough for the eye to follow the whole thing. Have you ever thought the sky is just a calm backdrop? Or could it be hiding some fierce movements? People reacted in different ways. Some felt afraid, sensing how fragile we humans are when things happen beyond our control. Others stayed skeptical, asking questions about the physics and atmospheric conditions behind it. And some turned thoughtful, connecting the sighting to inner conflicts or to layers of reality beyond everyday life. Scientific explanations were offered to calm things down. A few said it was probably a meteor fragment breaking up in the atmosphere, creating 2 parallel glowing paths. Others mentioned high-altitude atmospheric discharge, where built-up charges release in a rare pattern. These ideas help frame the facts, but they still leave a gap when it comes to the opposing motion that was clearly recorded. Revelation 12:7-9 offers another view. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The great dragon was hurled down when the light split and faced off. Many saw it as a picture coming to life, a reminder of that ancient spiritual conflict described long ago. Isaiah 13:10 adds another marker. The stars of heaven and their constellations will not show their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not give its light. Putting these sky changes together creates a chain of signs that make many people watch with real caution. This event makes viewers think about the bigger picture. When lights high above show opposition, what does that mean for life down here? If a battle is happening out of sight, who's gaining the upper hand? And what consequences are drawing closer with each signal from the sky? 7. The giant mysterious face in the clouds looking down on humanity. Right in the middle of a swirling storm, the sky suddenly opened up with an image that froze everyone's eyes. Layers of dark clouds, lit up by a flash of lightning at just the right moment, formed a huge face, with lines so clear it sent chills down your spine. The light slid across the eye sockets, the bridge of the nose, the outline of the mouth, making it feel like something real was right there up above. That face moved slowly with the wind, hanging in the stormy sky, both far away and pressing right into your mind. Every time lightning flashed, the features stood out even sharper, like they were carved deep into the memory of anyone who saw it. In that moment, we felt the weight of that gaze from above pressing down on our chests. Lots of videos caught it, long enough for the crowd to stand there stunned, and then they spread like wildfire. The shiver didn't come from the thunder. It came from the image that made you think of a power way beyond nature. Daniel 7-9 gives that picture a serious side. I watched until thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, the hair on his head like pure wool. When that cloudy face appeared in the storm, plenty of people saw it as a glimpse of a judgment throne looking down on the earth. Revelation 4:2-3 keeps going, like a picture warning. There before me was a throne in heaven with someone sitting on it, looking like jasper and carnelian. The lightning reflecting through the clouds reminded folks of the light coming from that throne, where everything gets examined. People reacted in all kinds of ways. Some trembled because they felt watched. Others got quiet, thinking about choices they'd made. And some tried to keep their distance by calling it just a weather illusion. Science folks point to pareidolia, our brains turning clouds and light into familiar shapes, and there are plenty of examples like this from all over the world. Still, the real weight of this isn't in the shape itself. When a giant face forms in a thunderstorm, the message doesn't stay on the surface, it hits straight at your conscience. As something that stirs faith, that image is like a judgment notice hanging in the sky, making people look back at their life and their responsibilities. If the sky can carry a face, what is that gaze reflecting about humanity today? And what kind of judgment is drawing closer after every storm? 8. The Hudson River suddenly breathes, bubbles, bursting up to the surface. The usually calm Hudson River suddenly had thick clusters of bubbles rising from the bottom, spreading out into big patches across the cold gray water. Pictures taken in Rockland County, near Bowline Point Park, show the surface moving in a steady rhythm, almost like the riverbed just woke up. That moment was enough to make anyone who saw it freeze in place. Do you ever get the feeling this isn't just some rare natural thing anymore? The bubbling went on steadily for several minutes. Rings of foam kept coming up and then drifting away with the current, giving the sense of a constant pressure pushing from below. A local photographer's video clearly shows the water around it shaking noticeably. The river's normal, peaceful look was gone. The steady, breathing-like motion made a lot of people think of a living body taking breaths right there in the middle of city nature. People's reactions split quickly. Many folks living nearby felt uneasy and tried to calm each other with old ideas about the environment or aging pipes and infrastructure. Some worried about the water quality, the wildlife, and what hidden dangers might be down at the bottom. On the other hand, people of faith took it more calmly, almost like they'd been waiting for a sign or a reminder for a long time. In the middle of those discussions, the Bible came up as something heavy to think about. Revelation 8:10-11 talks about changes to water sources. A great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky, and many waters turned bitter. When the Hudson started acting strange, quite a few people saw a connection between the changing river and that ancient warning. Revelation 16:4 goes further. The third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood. Even though what happened on the Hudson isn't as extreme as that description, the river showing such odd behavior was still enough to make people reflect on what nature might be saying in a spiritual message to us. Officials suggested it could be gas leaking from old pipes or underground sewers, a reasonable explanation in an old city like New York. Still, the steady rhythm of the bubbles and how far they spread kept people asking questions. The gap between the technical explanation and the symbolic feeling created two ways of seeing it, both existing side by side. The Hudson River breathing has been noted as something worth paying attention to in today's world. When a river moves in a way that makes people stop and watch, the message might be in that very change itself. If nature is starting to speak with clearer and clearer signs, what happens when other rivers begin sending the same kind of reminders? 9. Mysterious red light floating on the Pacific Ocean. From the cockpit at cruising altitude, a huge bright red area appeared below the clouds, stretching all the way to the horizon across the Pacific. The light was steady, strong, and constant, making it feel like the ocean was glowing from deep down. That moment was enough to make us stop and stare at something way beyond our usual idea of the ocean at night. The video shared by pilot Dustin Maggard shows the red patch filling the whole frame, with the sea surface below reflecting the light like one giant mirror. The even color and steady brightness gave the whole thing a mysterious feel, reminding people of stories that go beyond normal science. Many who watched the video said they went from amazed to kind of doubtful. As the image spread, all kinds of guesses popped up fast. Some talked about space portals, others thought it was something never seen in the ocean before. But shipping and tracking data showed that area had a lot of squid boats and sorry fishing boats, all using powerful red LED lights to attract sea creatures. When many of those lights work together, they create a wide glow that, from high up, looks like a complete Red Sea. Even though the technical explanation makes sense, the strange feeling doesn't go away completely. The size of the light is much bigger than one boat. The steady pulse and huge coverage keep making people think about how human activity is changing the ocean. That light isn't just a tool for fishing. It's a clear sign of human presence in the deep sea. The Bible comes up as a way to understand the deeper meaning behind the image. Revelation 6:12 says, "The moon became like blood," when the ocean spreads a red color across the night. A lot of people see a similarity in the color and the unusual feeling of the sky and sea during a time of change. Isaiah 13:10 adds more. "The stars of heaven and their constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark when it rises." Artificial light covering the sea creates a strange twist. Humans lighting up the dark with technology while blurring the natural lines that used to be there. The picture easily makes people think of recorded signs about the normal order being turned upside down. Groups like Global Fishing Watch confirm the red light comes from commercial fishing fleets, backing up the science and business view. Still, the ocean being colored by industrial lights opens another story about heavy fishing, ecological pressure, and our long-term responsibility toward the seas. While science gives the explanation, and the Bible suggests symbolic depth, the red light over the Pacific sits right at the meeting point of those two ways of seeing things. If the ocean is now clearly reflecting the mark of humans with light visible from the sky, what happens when those marks get thicker and thicker across all the seas of the planet? 10. Spider rain in the sky over Sao Tome das Letras. The scene hits you right in the eyes. The sky over Brazil starts shaking, and thick black dots pour down like a living rain. We stand there facing it, no narration needed. Just looking tells you something's way off the normal rhythm of nature. In Sao Tome das Letras, hundreds of tiny spiders hang on their silk threads, drifting down from above like a rain with purpose. They move together, perfectly in sync, No chaos at all. No howling wind, no thunder or lightning, just this steady falling that makes you shiver and step back without thinking. This comes from a species called Parauixia bistriata during their breeding season, from December to March. After rain, the young spiders shoot silk high up, catch the wind, and travel while building group webs. Ballooning explains how it works, but it doesn't take away that uneasy feeling when the whole sky suddenly turns into a living net. Revelation 9 brings up a familiar, chilling picture. Revelation 9:3-5. And out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth. They were given power like the scorpions of the earth have power. Not saying the spiders are the locusts, but the pattern stands out. Tiny creatures, showing up in huge numbers, pouring down from above like an order. Some folks try to calm the fear by calling it just biology. Wind lifts the silk, spiders ride it. Everything follows nature's rules. But why does this show up right when the world keeps seeing extreme changes? Climate, social order, all of it. Science explains it, but it can't erase the weight of the timing. Joel 2 gives a warning in words you can't miss. Joel 2:30-31. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. Joel 2. The sun will turn dark, the moon will turn to blood. Wonders don't always look like destruction. Sometimes they just make people stop and face what's happening. The spider rain doesn't kill, but it breaks that sense of being in control. It forces us to admit nature still holds the power, and it can use that power anytime. When the usual order starts to shake, the warning has done its job. Revelation doesn't just describe disasters. It also announces the end for a world that ignores the signals. Revelation 14:7. Fear God and give Him glory, because the hour of His judgment has come. The sentence doesn't drop all at once. It gets announced slowly through signs that are harder and harder to ignore. The spider rain in Brazil might clear up in a few hours, but the feeling stays. We walk away from that scene with a question hanging in the air. No need to say it out loud. If this is just the beginning, what else is the sky getting ready to let down? The 10 signs have come to an end, like a series of quick, steady beats, each one opening up a new level of understanding. From the sky changing color, the ocean glowing, the ground shaking, all the way to tiny creatures suddenly filling the air, everything comes together into one clear picture. We're not just seeing random events anymore. We're facing a steady stream of warnings that take us from being shocked to stopping and thinking. The Bible described this exact process long ago. Matthew 24:6-8 says clearly, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but that is just the beginning of the birth pains." Each sign isn't meant to scare us into panic. It's there to help people realize where we stand in God's spiritual timeline and how much time we have left to turn things around. As these signs pile up, the question isn't how rare something is anymore. It's about how we respond to the reminder. Joel 2:12 gives a straight, direct call. "Even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting and weeping and mourning." Repentance isn't about being afraid. It's choosing to change direction while there's still time. Hope doesn't come from figuring out every mystery. It comes from the path of salvation that's already open. John 3:16 reminds us of the unchanging truth. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have eternal life. In the middle of these powerful signs, this promise stands firm as our final anchor. This ending moment doesn't need more shocking images, just honesty in our hearts. We can leave a short prayer in the comments below, or just a real, honest thought about what touched us, as a way to answer the call that's been ringing through all 10 signs. If these messages have meant something to you, please share them with a small action and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next warnings. Every bit of support isn't just for the content, it's for the people who need these reminders and encouragement. Finally, thank you from my heart to everyone who listened all the way to this point. May God's peace be with us and our families every day, guiding us through whatever lies ahead. Amen.
A possible biological lab inside a Las Vegas home, now under investigation.
Oh my, they look so close. Like you can touch them.
What's going on when strange things keep happening one after another, with no warning and no time to get ready? The world we know suddenly feels so strange when things we thought could never happen are now right there in front of our eyes, plain as day. Secret labs get exposed, diseases creeping up, volcanoes shooting fire into the sky, strange objects tearing through the night, multiple suns appearing at the same time, metallic sounds echoing across the air, shadowy figures standing in the clouds, glowing rings hanging in the sky, the heavens seeming to open then close again. 10 phenomena, 10 signs, coming one right after another without stopping. Do you think this is just random, or is it a serious warning? Come along with me, let's keep going and find the real answer, okay? And if you believe, please leave a prayer in the comments as a way to show your faith to the Lord. Amen. Now, let's go deeper together and pull back the curtains on some truly shocking truths. We'll start right now with 1. Secret biolab in Las Vegas uncovered. Deadly disease monsters lurking for humanity. A locked-up garage in the outskirts of Las Vegas was just busted open by federal agents. That led to lots of sealed biological containers and a quiet emergency investigation getting started. No sirens, no public warning, but word spread fast once the FBI and local police blocked off the scene, turning a normal neighborhood into a serious biosecurity hotspot. At this point, this isn't just some random story, it's one we have to face head-on. Inside the garage, agents found over 1,000 illegally stored biological samples. The labels were clear: HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, COVID-19, and a freezer marked Ebola, holding sealed silver bags made for high-risk materials. The equipment, the way things were sorted and stored, it wasn't some makeshift setup. This was an organized lab space built on purpose. The homeowner is a Chinese citizen who was tied to the illegal biolab case in Reedley, California, so this whole thing jumped to high-priority watch right away. According to Fox News, Sheriff Kevin McMahill from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said many of the seized items were identical to what they found in California, from the types of samples to how they were kept. The first check started over a building code violation, but it turned serious fast when dangerous samples showed up. Federal officials now see this as a potential biosecurity threat. Revelation 6-8 comes to mind here, like an echo from far off. I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by plague. The Bible verse isn't meant to replace the investigation's findings, but it paints a picture where disease isn't just a what-if anymore. It's real stuff, sealed up right in the middle of a neighborhood. Matthew 24-7 adds to the uneasy scene. Nation will rise against nation, and there will be famines in various places. In the middle of all that, a secret lab with deadly disease samples makes a lot of people think of warnings that have been talked about for a long time, especially as one global crisis after another keeps piling up. Social media blew up fast with two clear sides. One side is angry and scared about the risk of a bio-leak and asking how oversight could fail so badly. The other side is more careful, saying this might just be an unlicensed medical lab with samples for diagnostic research and no proof anything has spread to the community. The FBI is still testing everything and hasn't released final results yet. they're keeping their official tone neutral for now. Still, the almost exact match to the Reedley case, the huge number of samples way beyond normal, and Ebola sitting in that freezer mean this can't be brushed off. When something like this is sitting right in the middle of Las Vegas, the question isn't just how long it was running, it's how many more places like this are still out there, undiscovered, and how would we even know about them? 2. Mount Mayon erupts violently, the night sky lit up by a terrifying sea of bright red fire. The photos spread like wildfire in just a few hours. A mountain that had stayed quiet for years suddenly glowed like hot coals, and the whole horizon changed color. This wasn't some special effect or a movie scene. It was Mayon in Albay, Philippines, when darkness got pushed back by light coming straight up from deep inside the earth. That moment alone was enough to make anyone stop and stare. Mayon is famous for its perfect cone shape, but this time, that beauty turned into a real threat. From the crater, red-hot material shot hundreds of feet into the air, then poured down the slopes in long, glowing rivers stretching for miles. Thick clouds of ash rolled and twisted, flashing with lightning, painting the sky a strange, dark shade that's hard to describe. Fast-moving flows of super-hot gas, ash, and rock raced down, wiping out everything in their path. Even people far away could see the light bouncing off low clouds, like the whole area was under a burning dome. Standing in front of a sight like that, do you really believe this is just another normal night on Earth? Joel 2:30-31 says it plainly. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. The sun will turn dark, the moon will turn blood red, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. These images that just happened make those words hit hard. You can't easily ignore them. Geologists spoke up quickly. They talked about magma pressure, friction from ash particles creating electricity, and the rules they've recorded for years. To science, this is just a familiar chain of events from a very active volcano. Nothing more, nothing less. Revelation 8-7 describes, the first angel sounded his trumpet, and hail and fire, mixed with blood, fell to the earth. When red light filled the sky, when the smoke column rose high and fire poured down the mountain, the matchup felt too clear to call it just a coincidence. If Mayon can turn an entire night into something this frighteningly bright, the real question is, what's coming next? What will the next mountain say? And when the sky changes color again, will you choose to believe it's all random or start getting ready for what was warned about long ago? 3. Dozens of glowing gold objects streaked across the night sky like a fierce meteor shower. A video got shared everywhere fast. The night sky suddenly lit up. Dozens of golden streaks shot across like rockets. The light lasted longer than usual, covering a big stretch of sky and leaving people stunned. When you see this, what do you think the sky is showing us? It happened in lots of places with little light pollution, where the horizon is wide open and you can see every movement clearly. Witnesses said it looked like a really intense meteor shower, but the color was strange, bright gold, shining like molten metal. That moment made it feel like the sky was pouring down these glowing bits on purpose. The objects appeared almost all at once, moving really fast and leaving long trails of light, hundreds of yards long, against the dark sky. Some trails changed color as they dropped lower, giving a weird sense of depth that's hard to explain. The way they all moved together and that standout gold color made this way different from regular meteors. Matthew 24-29 paints a similar picture. Right after the trouble of those days, the sun will go dark, the moon won't give light, the stars will fall from the sky to the earth, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. When those golden streaks came down together, it felt like those words were coming to life right in front of us. The whole thing only lasted a short time, but long enough for hundreds of videos to pop up. The sky felt alive then, like an invisible door had just swung open. A lot of folks stood quietly, watching each streak disappear below the horizon, with all kinds of questions running through their minds. Revelation 6:13 says, "The stars in the sky fell to the earth, like unripe figs, dropping when a strong wind shakes the tree." That falling image brings a feeling that the normal order is slipping out of control. Things up high suddenly coming down low, right into human sight. Astronomers gave the usual explanations. They talked about periodic meteor showers, satellites catching low-angle sunlight, orbits and speeds they've already calculated. The science explains how it works, but it doesn't quite touch the feeling everyone who saw it had. When you put all the pieces together, the huge number of objects, that rare metallic gold color, and them showing up at the same time as other signs around the world, it's a picture that's hard to ignore. For anyone looking for meaning, the Bible feels like the key that unlocks the symbolism behind what's happening. If the sky has started raining these golden lights like that, the big question is, what comes next? Is this just one single moment, or the opening chapter of bigger signs starting to show themselves? 4 suns lined up in the sky over a bright orange suburb in Texas. The sky over a Texas suburb changed suddenly at sunset. Against a deep orange background, 4 suns appeared at the same time, lined up straight across the horizon. Their light overlapped, creating a sharp, intense band of brightness cutting right through the sky. This wasn't a quick flash. It lasted long enough for lots of people to stop, look up, and start recording it, all feeling pretty confused. The light didn't spread softly like a normal evening sun. It shot out straight, sharp, and clear, making the edges of the clouds look razor sharp and the shadows on the ground shift constantly. Everything below seemed visually distorted, like the sky had split into layers. In that moment, we weren't seeing the one familiar sun anymore. We were seeing 4 bright sources all lined up on the same line. Right after the pictures spread, many witnesses described the same feeling. The sky stood still. The light stayed in place. It didn't move quickly. That made this different from those brief optical illusions. For people who saw it in person, the first reaction wasn't curiosity, it was caution. Luke 21:25-26 came to mind as something worth thinking about. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. The image of multiple suns appearing together hits right at the heart of signs in the sun. Not just one strange light, but a real change in the normal order of the sky. On social media, the debate started immediately. Some people said it was a parhelia effect, where ice crystals in the atmosphere bend the light and create extra suns on either side of the real one. Those explanations come from physics and have been seen before, usually in cold weather. Others focused on the details, the unusually deep orange sky, 4 clear disks lined up perfectly, and how long it lasted so everyone could see it with their own eyes. For them, it wasn't about the scientific name. The real issue was the feeling that the natural order was being broken right in front of them. Joel 2:31 adds to the picture. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. This Bible verse doesn't explain how it happens, but it points to changes in the heavens as a warning sign. When the sky stops behaving the way we're used to, the question isn't just what to call the phenomenon. It's about what it means that these things are happening more and more often. If 4 suns can show up together in the sky today, how much further will the next sign push what we think is possible? 5. The trumpet sound echoed everywhere. The sky shook like the end of the world was coming close. In the quiet middle of the night, the sky suddenly gave off a deep, heavy metallic sound that stretched out and spread wide like one huge trumpet blast. It started in London, rolled over to Sweden, hit Michigan, then reached British Columbia, leaving people in a wide belt of towns, stunned. In that moment, we realized The sky wasn't silent anymore like it usually is. The trumpet blasts came in waves, cutting through the air, sounding clear like metal being squeezed, pulled, and bent way up high. Lots of folks woke up, stepped outside, and recorded it while the noise just hung there overhead. In British Columbia, Dr. Glenn McPherson noted it even when every electric device in his house was off, the vibration still came through stronger, as if the source was right above the clouds. Revelation 8-6 gives a key to understand it. The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. Short words, but they focus on a sound coming from above, not from the earth. When those metallic trumpet blasts rang out at the same time across different continents, the Bible picture suddenly felt real and close like never before. Revelation 11:15 keeps leading the thought. The 7th angel sounded his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven, which said, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah." Here, the trumpet isn't just noise, it's a signal marking a big, deciding change for all people. Scientists offer other explanations. Some experts say it's distant industrial noise, train brakes, or sound waves bent in the atmosphere from temperature and pressure changes. Those ideas come from physics and have popped up here and there in history. But from a faith view, the question goes deeper. The sound showed up at the same time in far apart places, with the same features, described the same way: deep, heavy, long metallic trumpet. While science looks at how it works, the Bible points to what it means and when it's happening. What's really striking is how people reacted. On social media, thousands of videos got shared, comments poured in, feelings swung between fear and waking up. For many, the sound didn't just scare them, it made them stop and think about where they stand in the bigger picture. If those trumpet blasts have already sounded and been heard around the world, the question now is what comes next. Is this just the first call, or a sign warning of a final trumpet that will shake the whole familiar order of the world? 6. A mysterious figure like a human shadow floating against the blue sky. A short video suddenly went viral on social media. It captured a moment where a shape that looks just like a person stands upright, high among the clouds, completely separate from any normal part of the sky. The image just hangs there, not falling, not fading, not blending into the clouds. It makes people stop and look closely right away. The first feeling isn't curiosity, it's unease. In that moment, we realize the sky might be hiding something. At first, the figure is just a faint, dark streak, but the longer you watch, the clearer it gets. A body, a head, and a straight, standing posture. It drifts slowly, shifting position gently, almost like it's watching what's below. The space around it is so quiet, it feels eerie, while the figure stands still in the middle of a huge sea of clouds. It gives the sense of a purposeful presence. For a lot of people, that moment sends chills down their spine, because the shape looks way too human to be just random. When the video gets zoomed in and shared again, the debate explodes. Some folks insist it's only clouds forming a shape. Others point out that the way the figure moves doesn't match how clouds naturally drift. No one's asking you to believe anything here, but that image forces you to face a question you can't easily ignore. Matthew 24-30 comes up as a key reminder. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. All the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. This Bible verse doesn't describe the exact shape, but it stresses a sign appearing in the clouds, in a place where everyone's eyes will look up. Revelation 1-7 adds more. Look, he is coming with the clouds. Every eye will see him. The focus is on an open appearance, not hidden, not secret. When a figure stands among the clouds and gets caught on camera from different angles, those Bible words become hard to set aside as you think about faith. On social media, two clear sides form. One side says it's an optical illusion. light effects, and layered clouds. The other side focuses on the shared feeling the video creates, the heavy silence, the upright stance, and the sense of being watched from above. Both sides have their arguments, but neither can fully close the story. What really stands out isn't deciding who's right or wrong. It's how the image affects everyone's thinking. When the sky stops being just clouds and sunlight and starts carrying shapes that make people pause and wonder, faith gets stirred up naturally. If more figures like this keep showing up among the clouds, the question isn't, "What is that?" anymore. It becomes, "What is being warned about?" And when people's eyes are forced to look up high, are we truly ready for the real meaning of the signs that are starting to appear? 7. A strange, glowing ring appears in the night sky over Chile. The night sky over Chile suddenly had this huge, perfectly round ring of light hanging there, so perfect it almost didn't seem real, frozen in place like time stood still. A soft golden glow spread evenly around the whole circle, cutting through the quiet darkness and making everyone who saw it look up in shock. The video only lasts a few dozen seconds, but it was enough to leave millions of people stunned, because it looked more like a door had just opened than some normal thing in the sky. The ring stayed exactly the same shape, completely still at a high altitude, with steady light, no shaking, no flickering. It felt like a complete structure, with sharp edges and an empty center, more like a passageway than just an object. After a few seconds, the light slowly faded. The circle blurred, then disappeared, leaving the sky empty again and one big question with no answer. If you were standing there, what would you think you just saw? A lot of people brought up Revelation 4:1 right away as a key. After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. The Bible verse doesn't talk about light or a specific shape, but it stresses the idea of something opening, a boundary between two worlds lifted for just a brief moment. The video spread fast and brought all kinds of guesses. Some saw it as a swirling energy ring, others thought of a space gate, and some felt it was a sign of something much bigger coming. The main feeling it left wasn't outright terror, but a quiet unease, like the sky had just shown a structure that's always been there but rarely seen. Revelation 9:1-2 came up too, as a warning kind of explanation. I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. It opened the abyss. Here, the door image ties to hidden realities being uncovered, things beyond normal human understanding. Of course, there are technical explanations that it's probably rocket upper stage fuel dump, creating a ring of light when it reflects sunlight from tens of miles up. But that answer doesn't quite ease the feeling the image gives. The symmetry is too perfect, the stillness too complete, and it feels like something intentional showed up in the night sky. What makes this story worth thinking about isn't deciding whether to believe it or dismiss it. It's that it forces us to rethink the line between what we see every day and what we're not really ready to face. If that glowing ring really was a door, how long was it open? And did we just happen to catch that rare moment? Because if a door really appeared in the night sky over Chile, the final question still hangs there. Who opened it? And what will come through the next time it opens? 8. Giant symmetrical smoke ring in the sky. Down below the airplane wing, right in the middle of a sea of gray clouds, a huge perfect circle appeared, looking like someone had punched a hole straight through the sky. Thick smoke formed the edge, perfectly round, just hanging there strangely still at tens of thousands of feet up. The scene was shot quickly through the window, shaking a little from the high-altitude wind, enough to give you chills down your spine. What in the world are we looking at? The person filming was a passenger right by the window. Once the plane leveled off, his eyes locked onto this thing suspended in the clouds. The smoke ring was so big it filled the whole view, probably hundreds of feet across, with sharp, round edges, like someone drew it with a compass. The smoke didn't spread or fall apart. It held its shape for many seconds before slowly fading. At that height, wind tears everything apart fast, but this ring just stayed put. The video popped up online and spread like wildfire. Comments exploded, people arguing hard, every frame picked apart. Some said it's an open gate, others thought it's a sign, and a few tried to find a safer explanation. But most felt uneasy, because whatever was floating there didn't look like anything normal you'd see in the regular sky. Isaiah 64:1 records a powerful cry. "Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down, that the mountains might quake at your presence." That Bible image of tearing open the sky is violent and direct. It describes breaking the normal order. When you put those words next to this round smoke ring hanging in the clouds, the connection is hard to ignore. Lots of folks offered scientific ideas, saying it might be a glory effect or some contrail from aerospace activity. But a glory is usually a faint halo of light tied to the plane's shadow, and aircraft trails rarely make a perfect steady circle sitting still in open cloud layers. Those details make the technical explanations feel shaky. Revelation 19:11 paints a different scene. "Then I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. The one sitting on it is called Faithful and True." Here the sky isn't just quiet background anymore. It becomes the stage for judgment. Scripture doesn't use that picture to comfort us. It's meant to warn us. So this smoke ring in the clouds isn't just something to look at. It hits right at our sense of safety when we're flying high, reminding us the sky isn't always peaceful. As someone who tries to sound the alarm, I'm not saying for sure it's supernatural, but I will say this: some sights show up to make us stop and think. If the sky really was torn open, even just for a moment, it's not for entertainment or curiosity. The question still hangs there, just like that ring. When the boundary gets drawn, will we look the other way or get ready for whatever's about to come through? 9. A pale blue door in the sky, just hanging there, like a pathway leading to another world. At the edge of the night horizon, in the thin, misty clouds, a soft patch of pale green light drifts slowly and just stays suspended. The light is gentle, spreading evenly, making everything around it feel covered by a strange, different veil. The woman holding her phone stands still, the picture shaking just a little. Have we ever thought the night sky could open up like this? From what people say, at first it was just a faint streak of light. A few seconds later, the shape stretched out, the edges straightened, giving the feeling like a frame was being built right in the middle of the air. The blue-green glow didn't flicker or flash, didn't come with any sound. It just quietly appeared and then changed. The feeling it left was both strange and peaceful, like something was being gently revealed. The video got shared and quickly caught a lot of attention. Viewers paused on every frame, zoomed in on every detail. Some called it a light illusion. Others felt it carried a spiritual message. The mystery of it is exactly what makes it hard to ignore, because it doesn't force a clear answer on you. Revelation 4:1 paints a picture worth thinking about. After this, I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, "Come up here." The words don't describe the shape in detail, but they suggest a moment when heaven and earth connect. When you put it next to that green light hanging at the edge of the clouds, the connection feels very natural. Some folks say it was just a gap in the clouds where city lights or moonlight shone through. Others mentioned a drone with LED lights. Those possibilities are real, but they don't fully explain why the shape changed so slowly, giving that sense of depth, like another space was opening up. John 10:9 records Jesus' words, "I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved." Here, the door isn't just a physical entrance, it's an invitation. The Bible often uses that image to talk about choices, about faith, and about important turning points in a person's life. When I watch the video again, what stays with me isn't fear. It's a kind of quiet waiting that's hard to name. That green light didn't rush in, didn't push anyone away. It just showed up and then faded back. As something that stirs faith, I see it like a gentle reminder. There are things that only open when we stop and really listen. If there really is an opening beyond our usual understanding, the question isn't what it is. The question is this: when that moment comes, are we ready to believe we're being invited to step closer? 10. A spinning light behind the clouds. The mysterious, perfect circle in the dark night. The darkness was torn open by a strange glow behind thick clouds, fading in and out, still then moving. The man out for a walk stopped dead in his tracks, eyes locked on the sky as that light started spinning into an almost perfect circle. That moment sent chills down anyone who saw it. What would we do if the sky suddenly spoke right in front of us? At first, it was just a faint spot, like a hidden light. A few breaths later, it closed into a full, even circle, turning steadily behind the cloud layer. The motion was slow, steady, no sound at all, like something carefully arranged. Then the ring of light faded away, melting into the night, leaving a heavy silence behind. The video spread fast and drew millions of eyes. People paused on every frame, trying to find something solid to hold on to. It felt like a symbol had just been drawn across the sky, there long enough to be seen, then gone before anyone could fully grasp it. The big question still hangs there, refusing to go away. Luke 21:25 comes through like a direct warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish. This Bible verse doesn't describe the exact shape, but it stresses signs that break the normal rhythm of nature. When you put it next to that spinning ring of light in the night, the coincidence gets hard to ignore. Many people suggest it could be light reflected from a rocket, an airplane beacon, or some drone. Those ideas get mentioned to calm folks down. Still, the perfect round shape and even spinning give the feeling it was intentional, like a message being sent, not just some random glitch. Revelation 12:1 says, "A great sign appeared in heaven." In Scripture, a great sign often ties to times of judgment and decision. Here, the sky isn't just a backdrop. It becomes the place where something is announced. As someone who warns, I don't see this as a curiosity to wonder about. I see it as a serious reminder of our responsibility before what's coming closer. The ring of light is gone now, but the feeling it left stays. As these signs keep showing up more often, the question isn't whether they're real anymore. The question is where we stand in this moment. If this is the last knock from the sky, then silence or indifference, where will that take us when the final judgment is spoken? Here are 10 phenomena we've seen lately. They're no longer just separate events. Strange sounds echoing in the sky, glowing rings hanging in the clouds, shadowy shapes floating in the night, spinning lights that suddenly vanish. All of them connect into one ongoing sequence. Each one is like a small puzzle piece, but when you put them together, they form a much bigger picture, way beyond what any single person can see alone. When you step back and look at the whole thing, it's really hard to call these just random moments. The Bible talks many times about a period when the heavens and the earth both start to speak up. Luke 21:11 puts it plainly, "There will be great terrors and great signs from heaven." What we're seeing today makes that verse feel less distant and more real, like it's happening right here in our own generation. Not every phenomenon has a clear explanation, and not everyone experiences them the same way. But the Bible never asks us to understand every mystery. Instead, it calls us to stay awake and alert. Matthew 24-42 says, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." That kind of watchfulness isn't about being afraid. It's about being aware of what we're facing. These signs in the sky, even if they spark debate, still raise the same big question for all of us. Where are we putting our trust? In a world full of confusion and chaos, the Bible points to one solid place to stand. Proverbs 3-5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." When everything around us shifts, faith becomes the place we return to for steadiness. If this series of events stirs something in you, a thought, a concern, or a quiet prayer you want to offer to God, don't keep it to yourself. You can jot down a short prayer or share your honest feelings in the comments below as a way of responding to what you've seen and heard. If these messages mean something to you, please share them so others can think about them too. Supporting the channel isn't just a technical thing. It's a way to walk together through more of this content, where we'll keep looking at these signs and reminders as they unfold. Finally, thank you so much to everyone who's listened this far. May the Lord give you and your family His peace, protect you in these uncertain days, and guide every step with His light. John 14:27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." May that peace stay with us all. Amen.
Oh, listen. Sun there. Another sun. You blew an O.
During the day.
What's really going on in the sky right now? When the ground shifts in just a few minutes, when strange lights flash in the middle of the day, when deep rumbling sounds come from nowhere, people start to realize the world we know is changing. Early in 2026, heavy floods came rushing down, black clouds rolled in, flocks of birds broke formation, odd shadowy figures appeared and vanished. Lights flickered behind the clouds. Trumpet sounds echoed in the dark of night. 10 phenomena, 10 different places, all showing up in a short span of time, forming a chain of signs that are hard to ignore. Do you believe this is just nature at work? Or is it a warning that's been spoken of for a very long time? If you still hold on to faith, please leave a prayer in the comments below before we reveal each sign more clearly in the next part. Okay? Amen. And now, let's get right to the first phenomenon. 1. Sudden flash flood sweeps everything away at the Santorini commercial marketplace, Greece. The water came rushing down in just a few minutes. At the marketplace in Santorini, muddy water roared through the narrow walkways, knocking over stalls, carrying away motorcycles, and pushing people down amid crashing metal and screams. The ground disappeared, replaced by a fast-moving torrent no one could stand in. And in that moment, we saw how quickly everyday life can be wiped out. Videos captured the water rising more than 6 feet in no time, dragging mud, rocks, and trash straight down the steep slopes into the crowded area. Online reports said the rain in just a few hours far exceeded the usual yearly average, enough to trigger a flash flood on such steep terrain. Santorini is a volcanic island in the Aegean, with limited drainage because of all the dense tourism development, so rainwater couldn't spread out and instead poured into low spots like the marketplace. On-site photos showed stalls tipped over, goods floating away, tourists clinging to railings or pressing against walls waiting for the water to go down. The muddy flow didn't slow for many minutes, leaving a strong feeling of helplessness. In that scene, Genesis 7:11-12 comes to mind, hard to ignore. In the 600th year of Noah's life, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Those ancient words aren't trying to explain science, but they give a frame for thinking about water's power when all limits break. After the event, local authorities issued an emergency warning, asking people to avoid low areas, check the drainage systems, and strengthen roads leading to the market. Weather experts said Heavy rain, plus all the paved concrete surfaces, speeded up the runoff, turning rain into a flash flood almost instantly. They stressed the risk of it happening again if extreme weather keeps coming, especially during peak tourist season. In Matthew 24:37-39, Jesus says, "For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. They were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away." This Bible passage doesn't force a conclusion, but it serves as a reminder of how people are when disaster hits: busy, caught off guard, and not ready in time. At Santorini, many witnesses admitted they didn't get any clear warning to prepare. From an outside view, science can explain how flash floods form, and authorities can take steps to reduce the risks. Still, seeing a busy shopping area washed away so quickly is a strong reminder of how fragile our normal order really is. If the ground can change shape that fast, then whatever might be building up in the skies above could make us pause even longer to think. 2. A cloud rolling like a tsunami wave, crashing onto a beach in Portugal. The sky over the beach in Portugal suddenly changed color. A thick black wall of cloud rose up from the horizon and rushed straight toward land, blocking out the sun in just a few breaths. The calm, flat sea went dark all at once. The wind shifted, and right in front of everyone, it looked like a giant wave hanging in the air, leaving lots of folks frozen in place before they turned and ran. The cloud didn't drop down, but it kept coming closer. It formed a long tube shape stretching more than a mile, with wavy edges constantly twisting and rolling as it moved along the coastline at a hard-to-predict speed. No loud boom, no rain right away, just the feeling of being pressed by something huge and strange that you couldn't quite name. Standing there, did you notice how the line between sky and ground seemed to just disappear? This happened at Praia de Buarcos and some nearby beaches, where tourists and locals all started filming as the rolling cloud came right up to the shore. The videos show the sky behind the cloud going completely dark, while the front still had a bit of weak light, making a really odd contrast. A lot of people said it felt like the sea was roaring, even though the waves weren't big, as if the sound was coming from the air tied to that cloud. Luke 21:25 came up in this moment as a warning. There will be strange signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish because of the roaring of the sea and the waves. The Bible verse doesn't describe what the cloud looks like, but it focuses on how people react when nature sends signs that are hard to understand and hard to control. On forums and social media, people's reactions went in different directions. Some were skeptical, saying it's just a roll cloud or Arcus cloud, a rare weather thing that science has explained. Others were amazed by its strange beauty, seeing it as a rare moment from nature. Some got scared right away, connecting it to disasters and end times images stuck in our collective memory. And of course, there were folks laughing it off, calling it just camera angles and crowd psychology. Revelation 8-7, when you put it next to this picture, feels even more serious. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up. This isn't a scientific explanation. It's a warning about big changes starting from the sky, the place where people have the least power to step in. Even though science says roll clouds are usually harmless and fade away after crossing the coast, the feeling they leave behind doesn't go away so easily. When a single cloud can make hundreds of people run just from its shape and movement, the real question isn't what it is, it's how people will react when those signs from above get harder and harder to predict. And if the sky can already look like a threatening wave like that, what might show up next when we have no choice but to look even higher? 3. A flock of birds forms a big black cloud, twisting and turning across the sky, like they're scared of something coming soon. Tens of thousands of wings swirl together, split apart, then rush back in like one living thing in a panic. The sound of all those wings flapping comes down as a long, uneasy hum. These aren't the usual small groups anymore. This dark mass spreads out wide, constantly curving and shifting, making anyone below look up and watch, feeling something hard to put into words. Have you ever wondered what could make birds in the sky all act at once, like they're fleeing some invisible danger? That moving shape doesn't stay still. It flows across the sky like thick smoke, now tightening into a spiral, now bursting out like a breaking wave, blocking the light and blurring the line between day and night for a moment. The chaos isn't in any single bird. It's in the group rhythm that's so perfect, it gives you chills. Matthew 24-28 comes to mind like a short, heavy hint. Where the body is, there the vultures gather. Those words aren't just about nature. They point to a deeper connection between what creatures do and bigger changes happening underneath. When birds crowd together so thick, the question isn't only are they dodging predators, it's what are they reacting to in a world that's shifting. From another view, scientists call this murmuration, a smart survival trick where the flock confuses enemies' eyes and protects the weaker ones. They explain how each bird keeps just a few feet from its neighbors, creating that amazing synchronized flow. That explanation makes sense. It's clear, and it's been observed for decades. But Hosea 4:3 adds another piece. Therefore, the land mourns. Even the birds of the air and the fish of the sea are taken away. This Bible verse isn't about flying techniques. It talks about a shakeup spreading through all creation when moral order gets disturbed. In that view, birds aren't just reacting on instinct, they're the sensitive part of a whole system under pressure. Science keeps stressing that this is natural and happens in cycles, that birds have done this long before people gave it any special meaning. That's true, but it doesn't rule out the feeling that lately, the size and how often it shows up makes more folks stop and watch longer. When creation shows clear signs of unease, people usually start naming their own worries. The flock finally breaks apart, the sky brightens again, but the echo of that wild moment still hangs in your mind. The birds are gone, leaving a question that's hard to shake. If the most sensitive creatures to the environment are sensing something close by, are we humans missing the next signal right in front of us? 4. Glowing winged figure standing out among the clouds. A shining figure appeared right in the middle of the clouds. No warning, no sound, just a glowing shape floating there that left the person filming frozen in place. Its form changed fast, one moment spreading out like wings, the next pulling back into a hazy human shape, leaving you stunned and hardly able to believe your eyes. Would you call that moment a trick of the eye, or a rare sign slipping into everyday life? The light didn't stay still. It pulsed gently, almost like breathing, while the clouds around it caught the glow and turned into a soft, deep halo. In just a few short seconds, the figure became so clear that plenty of people who watched the video later spotted familiar lines tied to something sacred. Then it all faded, melted back into the clouds, leaving an empty sky and a question that didn't quite have a name yet. Revelation 14:6 opens up another layer of meaning. I saw an angel flying in midair, carrying the eternal gospel to proclaim. The verse doesn't describe the light or shape in detail, but it paints a picture of messengers appearing in the sky as part of a bigger plan. When you put the image you just saw next to those words, a lot of folks feel an odd, almost wordless connection. Weather experts and people who study vision explain it with pareidolia, our brains filling in familiar shapes from blurry patterns, plus crepuscular rays making those beams of light slice through clouds. Light from behind the clouds can reflect and create the illusion of movement and form. From that view, the whole thing isn't supernatural at all. It's just light and the way our minds work, playing tricks. Psalm 91:11 offers a different angle. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Those words aren't trying to prove a video. They simply promise an unseen presence walking with us through life. When you look at both sides, one hunting for a physical cause, the other hearing a spiritual message, the gap between them isn't really a fight. It's just different places to stand in faith. Science explains how something like this can happen, while faith answers why it touches us so deeply. One talks about light and clouds, the other about meaning and a quiet reminder. Both can live in the same short moment. You can pick whichever view feels right to you, but it's hard to deny the holy feeling that little scene left behind. The figure is gone now, the sky back to normal, but the echo of that light still lingers in people's minds. If gentle signs like this can show up in ordinary days, the question still hanging there is, when something long awaited finally draws near, will we be awake enough to recognize it the first time? 5. Jesus faintly appears in the clouds over Locke, Texas. In a quiet little town in Texas, a video spread like wildfire in just a few hours and left a lot of folks stunned. A bright patch of cloud slowly took shape into a familiar figure, a person with arms spread wide, like they were welcoming someone. The outline was clear enough that people recognized it right away. The image wasn't dramatic or loud, but it hit hard because of the unusual sense of peace in that wide open sky. The camera stayed steady, and the shape drifted slowly with the wind. It didn't break apart or suddenly change. The light around the cloud body felt soft and deep, making many people think of something holy rather than just a random thing. Will you see this moment with curious eyes or with faith already in your heart? Matthew 24-30 came to mind for a bunch of people watching it again. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. The Bible verse doesn't spell out the exact shape, but it brings to mind a familiar scene, clouds in the sky, and an appearance that means more than everyday life. For quite a few, the matchup was enough to make them pause and think. Around Lodge and nearby areas, rays of light breaking through clouds aren't that unusual, especially late in the afternoon. Weather experts say crepuscular rays combined with pareidolia make our brains fill in the picture with familiar symbols. To them, it's just a natural trick of the eyes, no supernatural message involved. Revelation 1-7 offers another way to look at it. Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him. Those words aren't about arguing science right or wrong. They focus on the spiritual meaning of seeing. When you put the Bible verse next to a cloud, holding its shape for a good while, a lot of people feel a connection that's hard to ignore. On social media, opinions split in clear directions. Some see it as a rare holy moment and share it with awe and hope. Others stay in the middle, saying the feeling comes from personal belief. And plenty call it just a visual coincidence, pointing to the light and the camera angle. The one thing everyone agrees on, that image made the community stop for a moment, look up, and wonder what's really behind it. Science gives a solid explanation, while faith opens up a deeper spiritual side that numbers and models can't reach. Both views can exist side by side without canceling each other out. That peaceful moment has passed, but the questions are still here. If gentle images like this can already make people stop and think, what will happen when bigger signs start showing up one after another? The next part will show a different image, one where calm isn't the main feeling anymore. 6. A shape coming down from the clouds in Naga City, Philippines. Right when the video got shared, a lot of people just went quiet. A bright figure slowly appeared among the white clouds, drifting down gently right above the square where Mass had just finished. It felt so holy, it was hard to describe. We look at that scene not just to watch, but to feel something beyond our everyday way of seeing things. In the space still filled with the sound of prayers, the long cloud started to take a clear shape. A person appeared with arms spread wide, the head part stretched out, like hair moving in the wind. The whole thing was wrapped in soft light, not glaring, but bright enough to make the crowd below get excited and talk. This didn't flash by in a second. It stayed long enough for many people to kneel, fold their hands, and even cry from being so touched. Acts 1-9-11 often comes up when people talk about that moment. After he said this, he was taken up before their very eyes, and a cloud hid him from their sight. This same Jesus, who has been taken from you into heaven, will come back in the same way you have seen him go into heaven. The Bible doesn't just talk about going away. It also shows a familiar pattern, clouds and a divine presence. The shape in the cloud keeps making people think of protection and comfort. The light around it wasn't harsh. It felt strangely close and warm in such a crowded place. Matthew 17:5 gets mentioned as a key to understanding it. A bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my Son, whom I love." For those with faith, clouds aren't just weather. They're a way for a message to come through. From a science side, weather experts and psychologists give a different explanation. They say the human brain tends to spot familiar faces and figures in random patterns, especially when emotions are already open to something holy. Light after rain, high humidity, and the right angle can make a steady image for a few minutes. On social media, reactions split into different groups. Some see it as a rare blessing, sharing it with thanks and stronger hope. Others stay careful, saying the shared feelings right after Mass can easily lead people to see it in a religious way. There are also doubting opinions that focus on the camera work and possible editing. No matter which view you take, it's hard to deny that the timing and place really touched a lot of hearts, not with fear, but with a feeling of comfort in a world full of uncertainty. That moment doesn't force belief, but gently brings up deeper questions about God's presence in today's life. If these comforting images are enough to wake up faith, then when stronger signs come next, where will this journey take us? 7. Trumpet sound, echoing with pulsing lights in Phoenix. The sound came in the middle of the day, while the city was still going about its normal business. A deep, long, low note spread across the wide-open space of Phoenix, making a lot of people stop in the street and look up instinctively. It was a heavy, steady tone that hit you more in the chest than in the ears, giving a clear feeling of unease, like the air around us had just been shaken by some strange signal we weren't ready for. Right after that, light started showing up behind the thin layer of clouds. Not blinding, the light pulsed slowly, spreading out in soft bands, then pulling back in like it had its own rhythm. People nearby started recording at the same time, and what stunned them was that the deep sound kept going, perfectly in sync with the light's movement, long enough that the whole area fell into a tense silence. The videos show the light slowly forming vague shapes, suggesting something standing still, high up in the sky. The trumpet-like sound carried far and steady, not sudden, but strong enough to drown out the usual daytime noise. In that moment, you didn't need anyone to explain it. You just knew this wasn't something easy to ignore. Revelation 8-6-7 often comes up when people talk about this. The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. The Bible puts the trumpet sound right at the beginning as a warning sign, not the end. And that's exactly what gives a lot of folks chills when they watch those daytime clips again. Phoenix sits in the desert, where the special air conditions can make sounds and lights carry farther. Some experts mention mountain waves, airplane activity, or acoustic resonance in the dry air. But the real debate isn't just about those explanations. It's that witnesses in different parts of the area all reported the same sound and lights at the same time. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 keeps getting mentioned as a warning too. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. Here, the trumpet acts like a wake-up call, forcing people to pay attention to what's coming, ready or not. Public reaction split quickly. Some folks felt scared and shared how haunted they felt right in broad daylight. Others stayed cautious, waiting for clearer answers from experts. And some thought it was just an overblown coincidence. different views, but the one thing everyone shared was that this event made them stop and think. What's striking is the feeling it left behind wasn't just entertainment or curiosity. That sound and those lights created an atmosphere of warning, like a signal going off while people were caught up in their everyday routine. It didn't try to convince anyone. It just forced you to face the question of where you stand in the flow of time. If one trumpet sound in the middle of the day was enough to shake our usual sense of safety, how much longer can the world stay indifferent when stronger signs start showing up? 8. A perfect white ring appears in broad daylight in the sky. In the middle of the day, while everything was going on as usual, a bright white ring suddenly showed up high in the blue sky, almost perfectly round. The light was gentle but clear, not spotty or broken, and it stopped a lot of people in their tracks. They paused to record it for just a few dizzy seconds. We stood there feeling like we'd just seen a door quietly opened without any warning. The ring of light hung in the air, so large it filled your whole view with smooth, even edges, sending out a glow that didn't hurt your eyes but made your heart beat a little faster. Many videos show it staying perfect for a long time, keeping that exact circle even as clouds drifted slowly around it. In that moment, you can understand why some folks said out loud they were seeing two suns or a gate opening right in the sky. Ezekiel 1:26-28 often gets mentioned as a haunting reminder. Above the expanse over their heads, there was the likeness of a throne, and around it was a radiance, like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day. The ring of light around the throne isn't just in sand decoration. It's a sign of a presence far beyond what humans can reach. The more you watch, the more the white ring feels separate from the rest of the sky, like it belongs to a different space altogether. The light doesn't suddenly change brightness. It stays steady, enough to leave you feeling both calm and a bit unsettled. That strange balance is what kept so many people standing silent for minutes without a word. Revelation 4:3 gets brought up too to help explain it. And he who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian, and around the throne was a rainbow-like appearance. In the Bible, that ring of light isn't about beauty. It's a boundary between the holy and our everyday world. From the science side, weather experts call this a 22-degree solar halo, formed when sunlight bends through ice crystals high in the atmosphere. That tells us how it happens, but it doesn't touch the feeling the sight leaves behind. What got everyone stirred up wasn't only the cause, it was how perfectly round it was, and how hundreds of people all noticed it at the same exact moment. Lots of comments online show two ways of thinking side by side. Some see it as a soft reminder from above, stirring up awe and thoughts about the Creator. Others stay careful, saying it's just a familiar thing people are reading extra meaning into. Even so, both agree the image is hard to forget. What's interesting is the ring didn't scare people outright. It woke up a deeper curiosity. It doesn't push belief on anyone, but it quietly raises a question about things beyond normal understanding. That moment felt like an invitation to stop in the middle of a busy day and just look up. If that perfect circle only opened a small crack in the sky, what might be waiting behind that door of light in the signs still to come? 9. A mysterious human-like shadow floating in the sky. In the layer of pale gray clouds drifting slowly across the sky over France, a blurry shape suddenly appears. Its edges aren't clear, but it's enough to give you a chill. The figure seems to separate from the cloud, rising gently in mid-air, hazy yet somehow very familiar. What do we really see in that moment? Just clouds? Or something beyond ordinary imagination? The recorded video shows smooth movement, no jerking, no falling, no wild spinning, just a steady, graceful rise that's hard to explain. The shape looks a lot like a human body, with the head and shoulders becoming clearer before the whole thing gradually blends into the surrounding light. It only lasts a few seconds, but it's long enough that people watch it over and over in silence. Acts 1-9 comes to mind as a deep hint. After he said this, he was taken up before their very eyes, and a cloud hid him from their sight. The image of a person being lifted and disappearing into a cloud isn't strange in the Bible. It's described as a sacred moment. The area around the footage shows no signs of familiar flying devices, no sound, no clear reflections on the clouds, and the motion doesn't look like something pushed by strong wind. The lack of those usual details actually makes the image harder to pin down. 1 Thessalonians 4:17 opens another line of thought. We who are still alive will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. This Bible verse doesn't explain the sighting, but it places it in a bigger picture of encounters beyond our everyday world. Of course, skeptical explanations come up fast. Some say it's just a drone, a small hot air balloon, or a trick of the mind where people see familiar shapes in moving clouds. Pareidolia has made lots of folks spot faces or figures in rocks and clouds, and this might be no different. Still, what makes people pause and think isn't exactly what it is, it's how it appears. The gentle, steady motion, never rushed, feels more like a purposeful journey than some lifeless object caught in the wind. The human shape stays visible long enough to stick in your memory, then fades away at just the right moment so you can't check it further. The feeling the video leaves isn't fear, it's a quiet, lingering reflection. It brings up questions about the line between visible life and the deeper levels of existence we can only reach through faith. That brief moment seems to remind us that some things show themselves only for a second, just enough to stir our curiosity. And when the hazy human figure melts back into the clouds, the sky returns to normal as if nothing happened. But in the mind of anyone who saw it, the question still hangs there. If that wasn't just clouds, what else might be revealed next time in this familiar sky? 10. Flashing orange light hidden behind clouds in Eugene, Oregon. The sky above Eugene, Oregon was covered in a deep orange color. Behind the thick clouds, there were steady flashes of light, brightening up, then fading out, over and over. The light didn't show itself fully, but it was enough to paint the whole sky in a strange shade. Are we seeing a natural event, or is something up there hiding and looking down at us? The video was shot from a moving car, and it shows the orange glow spreading across the sky like a huge dome. Every time the light flashed, the clouds in front lit up, then sank back into darkness. It felt like there was a big source of light behind them. The rhythm was steady and even, not wild or random, which made a lot of people feel watched instead of just seeing something accidental. Other people in the area reported a similar orange glow at the same time. Some saw the light stay steady, others noticed it getting brighter or dimmer, but everyone had the same feeling. The sky seemed to be sending a signal. Even a few pilots flying through the area mentioned seeing strange light above the low clouds. Joel 2:30-31 comes to mind. For many people watching these images, I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. The deep orange color and the sky lighting up like fire make that prophecy feel clearer than ever. Scientific explanations offer the usual ideas: city lights reflecting off low clouds, light pollution, airplane activity, or remote-controlled drones. But these answers don't quite reach the common feeling the video gives, the sense of a large light source beyond normal sight. What makes this event stand out is the color and the steady flashing. The orange didn't just cover the clouds, it added depth, like the sky had an extra layer behind it. The regular pulsing made many think of a signal rather than extra light, almost like a quiet reminder being sent. Matthew 24-29 echoes as a parallel warning. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky. Changes in the sky are always placed in Scripture as signs, not to satisfy curiosity, but to wake us up. The phenomenon in Eugene might get fully explained by science someday, like many others before it, but the feeling it leaves behind isn't easy to shake, because the familiar sky suddenly turned into a warning curtain. When that orange light finally fades and the night goes back to normal, the question still hangs there. If this is a reminder, are we ready to listen? When you look back at all these events, happening one right after another in such a short time, a really strange feeling starts to build. They're no longer just separate pieces or single signs standing alone. Instead, it's like a picture slowly coming together, making us stop and really think. From the ground shaking, the sky looking strange, sounds echoing, to images that go beyond what our eyes are used to seeing, everything points to one central meaning we can't ignore. Luke 21:11 said it ahead of time. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven. When we put those words next to what's happening now, we're not just hearing about something far away anymore. We're right in the middle of it, where the warning isn't just a symbol, it's becoming real and clear. What's really worth thinking about isn't just the events themselves, but how they're coming, fast, one after another, not giving people much time to shrug them off. Matthew 24:33 reminds us, "So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors." This isn't meant to scare us. It's a call to wake up our hearts and stay alert. In a noisy world full of information and emotions pulling us every which way, these signs are like a quiet moment that makes us look up, not to chase something sensational, but to ask ourselves, where is my inner life headed? What are we getting ready for deep inside when everything on the outside feels so fragile? Romans 13:11 comes like a gentle but deep call. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Maybe the most important thing isn't trying to figure out the exact day or hour. It's the attitude of our hearts toward these reminders that are showing up clearer than ever. If right now there's a prayer in your heart, a question, or even just a thought you've never said out loud, let it come out. Leaving a prayer or a short comment below isn't just chatting. It's a way for us to come together and humbly place our hearts before our Creator in honesty and truth. If these words touch something in you, please share them so others can pause and hear too. Supporting the channel doesn't just help keep this going, it also helps make sure we don't miss any reminders that might come next. Finally, thank you so much to everyone who's followed along this far. May God's peace cover each of us and our families, no matter what we face. Revelation 1-3 says, "Blessed is the one who reads aloud the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear it and take to heart what is written in it." Amen.
Stretching, rising, and shaping into what many described as a tall series of sharp orange beams were seen slicing through the sky, cutting through the clouds was what people saw inside it. Some said it looked like a giant portal opening.
What could make the sky and the earth change all at once, like nothing we've ever seen before? In just a short time, floods come rushing in, clouds twist and warp, strange lights tear across the sky, and shapes that shouldn't be there suddenly appear clearly right in front of people's eyes. Fierce floods swallow up the city, clouds roll like waves, figures of people show up in the clouds, gates of light open, the city floats in the air, a round hole is carved deep into the sky. A ring of fire turns slowly, the sky shakes, a rainbow appears in the middle of the night. 10 signs, but one common feeling: the world is moving into a different stage. And the real answer comes the day before. If you're feeling uneasy too, please leave a prayer in the comments as a way to show you're still listening to the Lord's warnings. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait long, let's get started right away with 1. Severe floods like waterfalls in Chile disaster hits hard, swallowing everything. Water comes rushing down from above, not in rivers or streams, but spilling over every usual boundary. In central and northern Chile, heavy rains came one after another and turned whole neighborhoods into raging torrents. Streets disappeared in just a few hours. In that moment, we see that nature isn't following the old patterns anymore. Local reports and weather agencies say water levels rose 6 to 10 feet in a short time, especially along rivers like the Maipo and Salado. The water carried mud, rocks, trees, and debris from the Andes slopes. It flooded highways and swept cars away like toys. People who saw it described a loud, constant roar, the ground shaking and houses breaking apart as the water slammed in without warning. Chile has had many years of long drought. The ground got hard and cracked, so it couldn't soak up heavy rain anymore. When El Niño mixes with rising global temperatures, snow and ice melt faster on the Andes, sending huge amounts of
Gigantes gigantes.
What's going on when everything starts spinning out of control all at once? In just a short time, nature suddenly turns and acts without hesitation. Snow and ice rush down into places that used to be warm. The ground collapses and swallows whole villages. Tornadoes rise up under clear skies. Strange lights shoot straight up high, then go out. Clouds gather and change shape right on top of mountains. 10 events hit one after another, fast and hard, not following any usual pattern. They happen in different places, leaving behind damage, fear, and questions with no answers yet. Do you think this is just random chance? If something inside you feels uneasy, please leave a prayer in the comments as a way to show your faith in the Lord. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait long, let's keep going together into the next part to look for some answers. We'll start right with 1. Terrifying blizzard hits California. Heavy snow everywhere. People running out of food and getting desperate. California is facing a really tough, rare challenge right now, and it makes us stop and really look at what's happening. A place that's used to warm sun, blue ocean, and wide-open freeways is suddenly locked in ice and snow, with everyday life pushed to the breaking point. The urgency isn't just from weather forecasts, it's coming from the pictures and numbers coming in hour by hour. This blizzard came from a strong atmospheric river, mixing with a big blast of cold air dropping down from the Arctic. Weather experts say the clash created way more rain and snow than usual, all packed into a short time. According to Fox News, many mountain areas in California got 6 to 10 feet of snow in just a few days, far more than the normal total for whole years. In about 36 hours, big stores like Costco, Walmart, and Trader Joe's in lots of places ran completely out of basics, from bottled water to canned food. In places like Big Bear Lake, Lake Arrowhead, and Mammoth Lakes, snow is piled deep on roofs, parking lots, and main roads. Key highways, I-5, I-15, and SR 330 got shut down because of chain reaction crashes and avalanches. Matthew 24:7 says, "There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." People often bring up this Bible verse as a warning about times of widespread crisis, when shortages stop being just local and start hitting whole communities hard. Local governments in San Bernardino and nearby counties declared a state of emergency. The National Guard got called in, and Black Hawk helicopters dropped food and supplies to cut off neighborhoods. Still, officials admit the help can't keep up with the need, especially for older folks and families with little kids. The 911 lines were jammed for hours. Luke 21:11 records, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places. When you put those words next to pictures of cars stuck in long lines and neighborhoods cut off, the warning feels very real, not like some far-off figure of speech, but a reminder of how fragile modern life really is. Some scientists say this is the result of climate change mixed with La Niña, making blizzards happen more often and hit harder. But according to Fox News, many forecast models didn't see how fast the snow would pile up or how long the roads and supply lines would stay knocked out. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." With white snow covering California and camp stoves fired up in the freezing night, that warning rings out as a reminder that this isn't just bad weather. It's a sign the world is heading into deeper trouble. And while California is still struggling to dig out from all this heavy snow, somewhere else on Earth, the ground is starting to give way in ways that are even harder to predict. 2. A massive crack in the Earth's layers in Indonesia. A mountain hollowed out, rocks crumbling like cookies. A mountain hollowed out from the inside, with dirt and rocks breaking apart and collapsing like they've lost all weight. Those pictures aren't from a disaster movie. They're from a real village that's still there today. When the ground lost its strength in just a few hours, that usual feeling of safety vanished completely. It happened in Pondok Balik Village, Ketol District, Central Aceh Province, Indonesia, where a huge sinkhole suddenly opened up and kept spreading. The surface area has gone over 32,000 square meters. That's about 7.9 acres, and there's no sign of it stopping. What gives people chills isn't just the size, but how fast it's happening. The ground is dropping in clear stages, easy to see with your own eyes. Aceh sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a place well known for cracked earth, volcanoes, and long stretches of heavy rain. Rainwater has soaked deep into the ground for years, quietly eating away at hidden rock layers and creating empty spaces no one could see. News reports say it's the combo of weak underground structure and non-stop heavy rain that pushed this spot to the breaking point. The sinkhole drops dozens of meters deep, over 100 feet in some places, with water rushing down from above and up from below like waterfalls. The walls keep collapsing, pulling in dirt, rocks, and trees. A nearby mountain was found to be almost hollow inside. The rock that seemed so solid just crumbles easily under pressure. In all this, we're not just seeing a geological accident, we're watching the foundation of people's lives fall apart. Matthew 24:7 says, "There will be earthquakes in various places." That Bible verse is often seen as a kind of key, showing that the shaking isn't only on the surface. It starts deep down inside the earth too. Indonesia's geological agency has issued the highest level warning and called for urgent evacuation of hundreds of families. Experts explain this as a sinkhole caused by karst erosion combined with heavy rain, a natural process that can happen in limestone areas. But they also admit that the speed of expansion in just a few days, swallowing up dozens of acres, is extremely rare. Revelation 6:12 records, "I watched as the Lamb opened the sixth seal, the earth shook violently." When you put those words next to pictures of a hollow mountain and ground collapsing over and over, a lot of folks believe this isn't just one isolated event. It's a sign that the world's foundations are being shaken. Romans 8:22 says, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time." The land splitting open, mountains hollowed out, that's a groan you can't ignore. And when the earth is roaring like this in one place, the sky somewhere else is about to answer with signs that are even harder to believe. 3. A tornado appeared out of nowhere and full of mystery in Canada, a swirling column hunting its prey under a clear sky. The calm grass suddenly started rolling up. Mist spun into a standing pillar, creeping slowly across the open space. Are we really sure we're seeing something normal? Or is something actively moving closer? It happened at a remote campsite in Canada. a place usually known for thick woods and peaceful lakes. There was no rain, no thick storm clouds. The sky stayed a steady, bright afternoon blue. That very contrast left the witnesses unable to make sense of what was happening around them. A group of campers were sitting by the fire, talking, when a thin mist suddenly rolled in from different directions. In just a few dozen seconds, that mist stood up into a spinning column, hundreds of feet tall, whirling fiercely but without pulling strong winds around it. It snaked its way between the tents and trees, almost like it was searching, then let out a low rumbling sound, like a distant growl. The column lasted about 3 to 4 minutes, long enough to scare people, but too short to fully understand. When it vanished, the ground went quiet again, leaving only panic and unanswered questions. Matthew 24:7 mentions earthquakes in many places, and the phrase, "there will be earthquakes in various places," suggests those shocks don't always have to be right under our feet. Canada is no stranger to weak whirlwinds that form from local conditions, but this one showed up when all the weather readings were steady, not matching the usual patterns. Luke 21:25 talks about signs that leave nations puzzled by roaring and violent movements, and the line, "nations will be in anguish," seems to mirror exactly how those people felt right then. Afterward, opinions split in different directions. Some saw it as a rare but natural event. Others thought it was just a quick cold vortex passing through. On the other hand, plenty of voices expressed unease, a feeling that nature was showing something beyond our usual understanding. Joel 2:30 speaks of wonders in the heavens and on the earth, and that Bible verse is often taken more as a hint than a strict conclusion. Scientists offered technical terms to explain it, but they also admitted some details didn't fully line up with standard data. The way it formed so fast, moved so strangely, and disappeared suddenly left many questions hanging. When old patterns no longer explain everything, that uneasy feeling starts to spread. A whirlwind showing up under a clear sky isn't just some odd weather event. It's more like a warning bell that the familiar order is being tested, and creation itself can become a powerful wake-up call. And once the air starts to take on the feel of a hunt, those unusual movements from farther up in the sky probably aren't far off either. 4. A strange white orb and a mysterious glowing sphere shot across the sky in Valle de Bravo, Mexico. A grayish white shape hung in the hazy sky, its edges blurry, like light was bending around it. The form was huge yet twisted, not like any plane, not like any cloud. Suddenly, everything around felt strangely quiet. The first feeling wasn't fear, just an odd, empty space inside. It happened on the forest trails in Valle de Bravo, a place used to morning mist and thick tree canopies. A heavy sound came from far off, nothing like a normal engine. So, when the camera started rolling, the thing was already hovering high up. It stayed still for a few quick breaths, then moved in a way no one was ready for. It made an almost square turn, sharp and chilling, then sped off behind the cliff. Right in the center of the main shape was a dark hollow spot, and from there, a bright white ball shot out, gone from the frame in a flash. Do we call that moment a physics thing, or a signal being sent down? Luke 21:11 says there will be terrible things and great signs from heaven. The verse doesn't give details about shape or how it works. It just stresses the overwhelming feeling and unease when people face something way beyond what we normally understand. After the video spread, opinions split in different directions. Some said it's just a big remote-controlled flying device, or maybe a visual trick from the angle and light. Others pushed back, saying no known public technology can make that instant sharp turn, let alone launch a smaller object at a speed the eye can barely follow. Matthew 24:29-30 says, "The stars will fall from the sky, and then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven." For many, this isn't a technical explanation. It's a hint about things in the sky that mean far more than just one odd event. The online debate kept growing, from cool-headed doubt to careful curiosity to quiet worry. Some see it as proof of intelligence beyond Earth. Others see a reminder of how limited human understanding really is. No single view took over completely, and that very hesitation is what keeps the story alive. As more strange images show up in the sky, maybe the important thing isn't rushing to decide what they are. They make us look up and wonder about our place in something much bigger. And once that strange light flashes overhead, the next question isn't, "What is it?" anymore. It's, "Are we ready for whatever's coming?" 5. A mysterious green beam shooting straight up into the sky. A column of green light rose straight up from the ground in the dark night, perfectly vertical and sharp like a cut across the sky. No sparks, no explosion, just this cold light shooting upward and then stopping in midair. Have you ever thought light could appear without leaving any physical trace at all? Just a few seconds later, that green column spread out into a bright orange ring, so perfectly round it was hard to believe, hanging there like a sign drawn right on the sky. Everything around was dead quiet. The camera didn't shake. The background stayed the same. Then the ring slowly faded and vanished, leaving an empty space that gave viewers chills down their spine. Joel 2:30 once warned, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." Quote, the pillar isn't described as chaos, but as something that appears with a clear shape, standing firm for a brief moment before it disappears. That makes a lot of people think of a message placed exactly where and when it was meant to be. The video spread fast, but what really shocked people wasn't the colors, it was the total silence. No sound, no shockwave, no aircraft warning. The green smoothly turned to orange, no scattering, no trailing streaks, as if someone was controlling every single shift. Luke 21:11 records that great signs from heaven. The word great doesn't just mean size, it also means the impact on people's minds. It makes folks stop, look up, and realize some things are happening beyond our usual control. When experts looked at the video again, lots of ideas came up. Some said it might be a high-power laser test. Others mentioned a rare atmospheric optical effect. But the analyses show normal lasers cause obvious scattering, and atmospheric events usually come with changes in the background light, none of which showed up in this recording. Revelation 8:12 says, "A third of the sun, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars were struck, so that a third of them went dark." In the Bible, light and darkness aren't just physical things, they're signs of a shift in order. When light shows up in ways that break the normal rules, it feels more like a warning than something fun to watch. No official confirmation, no clear explanation, just the image of what happened and questions left hanging. If a beam of light can appear, change, and vanish in complete silence, what happens when the sky doesn't send just one single signal? 6. A row of blue lights quietly drifted across the sky over Romania, then vanished without a trace. The night sky in western Romania opened up a scene that's hard to put a name to. A faint, cold blue glow slid through the low clouds, lined up in a straight, even row with perfect spacing, like something placed there on purpose, not random lights. For that moment, it felt like we were seeing something way outside the usual pattern of a European night sky. It happened near the city of Timișoara, where a bunch of people all saw the same thing at once, a strong line of glowing blue lights moving steadily sideways across the sky. They passed right overhead for about 20 to 30 seconds, staying in perfect formation, moving at the same speed, then all blinked out, almost together. What was left was this strange, empty feeling in your eyes, like the sky had just closed a short scene we didn't get time to figure out. Matthew 24-29 says, "The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." People usually read that as symbolic language, But when lights show up and disappear in such an orderly, hard-to-explain way, a lot of folks start thinking about changes that go beyond just physical stuff. Videos spreading online show the row of lights holding that tight formation the whole time they moved. Some witnesses said the lights didn't flicker, didn't leave any trails, and didn't noticeably change height. Those details turned the whole thing into a hot topic in online groups, from astronomy forums to ones talking about unidentified phenomena. Luke 21:25 records, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity." That Bible verse gets brought up a lot when people face things that shake their sense of control, especially when what we know right now isn't enough to give a clear answer. Some folks think the lights could be tied to remote-controlled drones or secret military tests. Others lean toward a rare astronomy thing, like high-altitude light reflections. Then there are people who see it through a spiritual lens, taking it as a kind of warning sign. The discussions keep going side by side, each view based on different data, experiences, and beliefs. Revelation 6:13 describes, "The stars in the sky fell to the earth like green figs, shaken loose by a strong wind." That picture gives a sense of orderly movement, but way beyond normal expectations. It's oddly similar to how those blue lights appeared and then slipped out of sight. Whether you explain it with science or faith, that chain of lights left a strong mark in the minds of those who saw it. When the sky starts acting in ways we can't easily explain, the question isn't just where it came from, it's what it might mean. And just as things quieted down in Romania, reports from Arizona started mentioning other hovering shapes, almost like the sky is continuing a message that isn't finished yet. 7. A glowing living cloud floating above Piestewa Peak, Arizona. The sky over Piestewa Peak opened up a sight that shakes up everything we usually think we know. A cloud hung low, shining with a silvery blue glow, its shape twisting and turning like it was adjusting itself. That strange feeling spread fast, because whatever was up there seemed to have a mind of its own, not like the rest of the Arizona desert sky. It was caught on video when a runner paused on the trail. The cloud drifted slowly, its surface shifting with every gentle pulse, giving off a soft but steady light. Watching it, you could tell the movement felt alive, more like a living thing than just some normal weather pattern. Joel 2:30 says, "Wonders in the heavens and on the earth." That Bible verse used to be seen as poetic prophecy, but when a glowing cloud shows up looking this unusual, a lot of folks start reading those words in a more direct, less symbolic way. The close-up video shows the cloud's surface reflecting light like liquid metal, patterns changing constantly, spirals opening and closing in short cycles. It stayed steady right above the mountainside, almost like it was watching the area around it. It hung there long enough for people to record it and share, then faded away, leaving plenty of questions hanging in the air. Luke 21:11 records, "Great terrors and wonderful signs from heaven." Here, terrors means that stunned feeling in your mind when you face something that doesn't fit any normal explanation. That cloud created exactly that quiet but powerful reaction. Weather experts who looked at it suggested low-altitude plasma, a rare lenticular cloud, or some light effect combined with moisture. The science side sticks to physics, energy, and the special desert conditions. On the other hand, many who saw it say the rhythmic motion and self-generated light point to something more symbolic than purely natural. Revelation 19:11 describes, "I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse." That picture is often taken as the start of big events, with the sky becoming a stage for spiritual signs. So, this glowing cloud over Piestewa Peak fits right into that line of thought as a kind of invitation to think deeper. Between science and faith, two views run side by side, each built on its own foundation. One looks for physical explanations, the other for spiritual meaning. That cloud sits right on the line between the two worlds, making anyone who sees it question the limits of what they think they understand. When a cloud starts looking alive and the sky seems to be opening up, there are probably deeper layers of events still waiting to show themselves. And in another spot across the desert, patterns of lights are starting to appear in an orderly way that has people watching the night sky more closely. 8. A vertical row of mysterious lights with a beam piercing the sky. The Arizona sky showed something hard to describe. A tall column of light standing straight up in the dark night, surrounded by layers of bright points that shifted positions in a strange, orderly way. The sight made a lot of people stop and stare for a long time because an uneasy feeling hit right from the first second. We all knew this wasn't the usual kind of light we'd seen on quiet desert nights. The videos that were recorded show the lights shining brightly, lined up vertically like some kind of intentional structure. A white beam shot straight up high, staying fixed in place, while smaller bright points spun around it, splitting apart then coming back together